Hello, guys. Welcome to our next session. Last time, what we did with you was we installed Backpack, on our newly refreshed installed Laravel, and we now already have an admin panel. We have the users create, read, update, delete, and now we should proceed with the next steps. And what is the next step? Well, the next step is me introducing you to migrations. What is migrations? What is their purpose? What is migrations and why this is connected to Laravel? Well, if you open the documentation, currently we are using Laravel 9.x, so we are checking the documentation for 9.x. Just a reminder where and how to check that. If you go to getting started, you see that every web application interacts with the database, and actually we are using those migrations so we could keep our project up to date, and also so we could know what have been changed, when this has been changed, and also last but not least, if someone starts working on our project, that person would be able to have the whole database up and running. We should always avoid making adjustments to the database manually for each change of the structure of the database. This includes creating new tables, editing existing tables, adding indexes, etc. We should always use migrations, because now you might be the only one working on your project, but what will happen if you need to leave this project and come back in 1 year or 2, you won't remember a thing. And if you have used migrations, then the easiest way to do that would be just set up the project, set up the correct configurations here, and just run PHP artisan migrate, and artisan migrate will create the structure for you. Also, another good reason to use migration is when you start using version control. And just a slight reminder to the university students, this is a requirement for your coursework. When you start using version control, you will see why certain change was done, and you could follow up on the task management system, and you will have an idea why someone did that. Otherwise, it will be just a change, and you have no idea why and when this was done. So, without any further ado, let's continue with the migrations. If you open the documentation here, you will see everything that you need to know. I won't dig into it. My aim would be just to create something simple and go with it with you. So in order for us to continue, we should have Laravel and Backpack installed. We already have this. We should have the virtual host ready for us. Yes, we have it. We are using here a domain. Xampp should be up and running. Yes, Xampp is up and running, and we should also have Composer. In this tutorial, we are not going to use Composer, but in the next ones we will. So it's just a prerequisite from the last one. So I will click on the admin here, which will open the localhost phpMyAdmin for me. Just a slight reminder, if you go and check the .env file, you'll be able to see which database we are using. So we are using the fun database. And if I open fun here, I will see what kind of tables we have. So currently we have failed jobs, migrations, password resets, users, etc. So what is this migrations table? Well, migrations table is the place where Laravel keeps track of all the migrations file and whether they have run successfully or not. If those files have run successfully, then you will see them as a list here, and you will know with which patch this was executed. You could see that all of these 4 migrations were executed in one batch, which means that they were run simultaneously one after the other. So in here, you could keep a track what is the latest migration added to your project. Another way how to do that, well, it's as simple as it seems. Inside app, there is in your project root database folder. Inside the database folder, there is migration folder, and inside that migration folder, all the migrations exist. If I open a certain migration, let's investigate it. You could see that it's a new class that extends the migration, and it has 2 main methods. One of them is up, the other one is down. What is the up? Up is the method that is executed when you run PHP artisan migrate. Usually, if you create a table, we say, hey, schema, we want to create a table. The table will have to unique ID and etc. We will define all the fields after that. And the down method is used when you use artisan migrate rollback. What's the idea of rollback? Well, the idea of rollback is to go one step behind. So without any further ado, let's continue. In the other version, it was really easy for you to run something like this. So I would just copy and try to run it. You see it says PHP Artisan make migration schema and create tags table, and we are providing that we don't want to have a model created, and we are trying to provide the schema. The schema says, hey, I want to have name, it should be string, it should be unique, then I need to have SLUG, the swag, it should be string, and again it should be unique. And you could see that this is no longer existing. How I could tell that this is no longer existing? Well, if I open and type PHP Artisan make migration help, I will see what kind of options we have. And as you could see, there is no more schema option. So this was available in the other versions. If you're checking some tutorials and they have this schema thing, it won't work for you because this is something that we need to have in 9.x. We don't have it. So that's why we'll use to the old school way. This is the normal error saying that please check, do you have anything else, or have you type on something that's not existing? So by the way, this is valid for all the PHP Artisan commands. So for example, if I type Q, and if I am interested in help for the Q, it will go and check everything that we need. And it will try to suggest some stuff for us. For example, if I go and type PHP Artisan cache clear and then help, I have options about clearing the cache, and I could decide how and when to proceed. I will now clear the console and go back. So I'm going to run this one. It's PHP Artisan make migration create tags table. What it does is it creates a file. You could see that it's using the date and also the hour where this was created, and it created a new file under my database migrations folder. This new file has two methods, again, up and down. The up method is used when you run the migration. The down method is used when you roll back the migration. And I will just get the code that I need. The code that I need is making adjustments to this schema. What we are making is we are saying, hey, I want to have a name for my tag. It should be unique. And then I want to have swag for my tag that should be unique. Why we are doing this? Well, our end aim is to have an article in which article you will be able to choose between multiple tags, and then you will be able to upload files in that article. Currently, this exercise is covering only the migrations, but the next exercises will cover how to set up that article and how to make it fully functional. So now going back to the migration, we have the up method allowing us to define which fields do we want. And then the last one is timestamps. Timestamps is actually automatically adding timestamps for you, which includes created at and updated at. And the down method, what it does is if the table exists, please drop it. So if this was executed correctly, you see that it was executed correctly. Our next steps is simply to run PHP Artisan migrate. So if I type PHP Artisan migrate, I get a message that it's running the migration. It's done in 64 milliseconds. And if I go to the database, you see we don't have tags table. If I refresh, we already have the tags table created for us. And if I check the migrations table, now we have a new row saying, hey, I managed to execute this file. It was the only file in this batch, but the result is succeed, it's done, and the table is created. One thing that you need to know is you could also roll back some of those migrations, which means that rolling back the migration is actually fetching the file and running this down method. And if we check the down method for tags, it says if this table exists, just drop it. So if I go back to the database, hit refresh, you will see that now we don't have a row here saying, hey, this was already executed, and we are missing the table. So it's that simple to work with migrations. The only thing that you need to remember is if there is an issue, for example, if you run PHP Artisan migrate, check what is the error. Usually the errors are related to you have made some modifications, didn't create a new migration, you are trying to rerun the old one, but the old one didn't return or didn't make the changes that it had to make in the database. The other issues are usually related to these environment files. You are not having your MySQL server is not running, or the credentials are not right, but usually those errors are extremely descriptive, so you shouldn't have any issues at all, to be honest. What you need to remember is anytime when you need to create a new table, add index, alter table, adjust fields, always use migrations. You need to remember only these two methods. It's PHP artisan make migration, then you give a name of that migration, you open the file, you check what this is doing, is it going to create, update, or delete, it's up to you to do it, and then you make sure that the down method is corresponding to what you have done in your up method. Inside the database, you could keep track of the migrations if you check this migrations table, and it says whether something executed successfully or not. So guys, this was extremely quick, but we are done. We already managed to create our first migration. It has this tags table, and it's waiting for us to create our create, read, update, delete for tags. So, but this is something that we will cover in the next session. See you.